and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be taking a quick look at the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Voyager class Heroic Maximal Dinobot. The figure is essentially a direct repaint slash minor retool of Dinobot that we saw originally released as part of the Transformers Kingdom toy line, and overall as far as the repaint goes, this guy looks great. I really do think this new salmon pink and that Beast Wars 2 Grimlock head sculpt comes together for a really nicely done looking Voyager. However, I have to bring this up, this guy certainly isn't without his flaws, and one of the biggest flaws that my copy has is the ongoing issue of yellowing plastic, and it's just not on whatsoever. Us as collectors are now paying more than we ever have for the main line, and we're receiving less quality back. Yellowing on figures is something that should have been long gone, way back in the 90s and 80s. I have figures from 2010, such as say the Titan Metroplex, which hasn't become yellow nowhere near as much as the likes of my Shattered Glass Starscream, which I merely only picked up last year, and in the case of this Dinobot, I've had him for only 2 weeks, and already there are noticeable areas which have already begun to discolour. Now, before we actually touch base with Dinobot himself, we'll very quickly go over the weapons. I am in love with the spinning blade that we've got here. The deco that they've applied here to the inside just looks awesome, completely picked out in this really nice looking pink. However, as we turn it to the side, you guys may already be able to tell some of the discolorization which has already plagued my copy, such as this centerpiece. It just looks really bad. Now, it's nowhere near as bad as the likes of the Shattered Glass Starscream, as that was basically yellow pieces on white plastic, but still, this really shouldn't be something that we're seeing in 2022. Technology has come on leaps and bounds since way back in the day, and it's just really not on at all. But as you guys can see, we do get some nice pattern detail, which we'll see more of once we do get him transformed up into the Raptor mode. And the second and final weapon that he comes with is, of course, the sword, this time done in the classic 90s toy accurate deco with the white blade and the pink handle, which also does look pretty decent, and so far luckily hasn't discoloured as of yet. But as we take a look here at Dinobot himself, overall I actually really like the way this guy looks. It is just a shame that he has become victim to discolouring, as no doubt in a couple of months time this guy's going to be pretty ugly to look at. But as we just bring him in here for a closer look, that head sculpt is awesome. As you guys can see, we do get a very nice metallic shade of blue used there for the mouth guard and red for the eyes, and the sculpt work across the board, front, side and back for this head sculpt just looks fantastic. But as you guys may be able to tell, here for the shoulder region it is a drastic different colour when in comparison to the lighter shades of pink that we've got here for the front section. It is rather strange, at least to me, that certain parts of the figure have discoloured whereas others have remained the same shade of pink. So not too sure, perhaps they're using a slightly cheaper type of plastic for certain components. But yeah, as you guys can see, there is a noticeable difference between this shade of plastic and of course the plastic that we've got going on here for the hinge joint. And as we take a look here at the torso, I think this looks awesome. Much like the tail weapon, we get some really nice pattern detail which I think looks great, and awesome metallic gold highlights here at the sides. But as we take a look at the arms, not only do we get that amazing skin texture detail, but we also see some yellowing, and the biggest area of which has yellowed on my copy has got to be the forearm. As you guys can see, there is definitely a noticeable difference between the bicep and the forearm, and even this section here, the back of the hand. So really not on at all. It's something that I'm hoping we can see perfected for future releases, as the prices just continuously keep going up and up, and if quality does begin to dip, then I think we're going to be looking at a very similar case to the Prime Wars trilogy, where collectors literally just switch off from buying, as why should you be paying a premium price for product and then receiving something which is of a lesser quality when in comparison to 1 to 2 years ago. So not on at all. Really hope this is something that we can see perfected. But we do get some nice white paint here for the claw. Sadly, it has slightly chipped off here on my copy, but still looking pretty nicely done. As we come down here to the thighs, I think this all looks nicely done. We get a wicked metallic gold here for the crotch plate, and then as we just work our way down here to the lower section, some nice orange plastic which has been sculpted and detailed appropriately, and the feet also do look pretty decent. And something which I noticed on this copy, which I haven't so far on any of the previous molds, is that when you transform him, there is in fact actually some internal detail such as hydraulics. I thought that was a really nice touch. Definitely looks pretty cool. And as we take a look here at the back of the figure, it is just as clean as on the original version. However, you can once again see some discoloured components such as the forearm for the Raptor mode. Now, I won't bore you guys in regards to the articulation, as it's exactly the same as the previous two figures, so without further ado, let's very quickly bring out a comparison. Here we have the Kingdom Dinobot compared alongside the brand new Legacy toy accurate version, and I think both of these guys look awesome. For the most part, they do utilise the same body sculpt. It really is just the heads of which differ, so let's bring them in here for a closer look. As you guys can see here, here we have the traditional Dinobot, and here we have the classic 90s inspired toy accurate version. And overall, I think they look great, and it's super cool to see that the paint apps for the torso really do help to amplify it and just make it stand out when in comparison to this regular release. So in terms of a colour deco, I think they did a fantastic job. It is once again just a shame that this has become victim to yellowing, and as we take a look here at the weapons, they're identical, it merely is just the colours of which differ. And to go back to my earlier point, the fact that they've actually painted the inside here of the spinning blade makes all of the difference in my opinion. It looks so much cooler when in comparison to the original Dinobot shield, and you guys can also take the sword, peg this in, and create for some pretty cool looking weapon. I personally really like this variation, and you'll have to do this for the transformation anyhow. So yeah, definitely be sure to let me know down in the comment section below out of the two which is your preferred version, and if you already own the regular Kingdom Dinobot, will you be adding this new toy accurate version to the collection? Now turning to transformation, if you haven't done so already, you'll want to insert the sword back into the spinning blade, and then we can just close these panels up and set this here off to the side for now. Before we actually get into the transformation for Dinobot himself, I just want to turn your attention here to the back of the figure. As you guys can see, for this knee joint, it has already begun to not only stress, but there is a really nasty crack smack bang there in the center. So to go back to my earlier point, I really do believe as if though Hasbro are now using significantly cheaper plastic when in comparison to what they were using a couple of years ago. As on my original Kingdom Dinobot, I've had that guy for over a year and have found no issues whatsoever. So yeah, that's super unfortunate, and it's definitely something that I would recommend for you guys to watch out for. Luckily here on this side I haven't found any issues nor stress marks, so it could just be a case of this section being tightened up too much, but it is definitely something worth mentioning. Now transformation wise, you are going to want to flip here to the underside, take the heel spurs and just snap them there into place. What we can then do is take the shoulders, hinge these sections here all the way up to the top, disengage the backpack, hinge that section out to the sides, take the raptor claws, hinge those out also, which will then allow us to pull this section here away from the body. And then what I would recommend to do would be to fold these pieces in until they actually click there into place. Rinse and repeat the exact same process here for this side. We can then rotate at the waist so that the front is now facing the back. And basically you're going to want to take where the neck is and disengage it here from the raptor head, which will cause this entire section to flop back. And then we can fold out that raptor head just like this. And believe me, this is going to be a super cool looking alt mode. What we can then do is take the arms and just rotate those around and then snap those there into place, ensuring that the hollow side is facing inwards. So we're left with something that looks along the lines of this. Rinse and repeat the same process here for this side. So rotate at the shoulder, hinge this section down, rotate this piece here all the way around just like that. What we can then do is lift this section up and over, and this will conceal the head, so we can just snap that in there. And now this is the tricky part of the transformation. So you're going to want to fold out these sections as I showcased earlier on in the video. You'll want to bend forwards here at the knee, and now the slots on the knee pads will actually peg into some tabs here and here, and the tabs on the inside of these shin guards are actually going to slide up into these two tabs here and here. And then at the same time you're going to want to lock these tabs on the inside of the feet into this section here of the tail. So there's an awful lot that we have to do, but I'll be sure to try my absolute best to show you guys it in as much detail as possible. So I would recommend bringing the toe forward just to allow for some additional clearance. So first of all, make sure that you have that knee pad snapped there into place, and then with a bit of luck you should just be able to slide that shin guard there into place. Now what we can do is take the foot, bring this section here up and over, and basically that tab will shoot there into that slot. Rinse and repeat the exact same process here for this side. So just snap the knee pad first of all into place, and then snap the shin guard up into that hollow cavity. And then what we can do is straighten out the foot and peg that there into the slot, so that we should be left with something that is so far looking along the lines of this. Now we can take the shoulders, hinge these sections down, fold out the claws, and then rotate at the wrist. Repeat the same process here for this side. So just flip that out, ensuring that you have the side of which doesn't have any hollow spaces visible. And then for some finishing touches, we can bring back in the tail accessory, snap that there into place, and here we have the heroic Maximal DINOBOT fully transformed up into his really cool looking Raptor mode. And if anything, I much prefer how this guy looks when in comparison to the original Kingdom DINOBOT. This guy looks awesome, especially in regards to some of the pattern detail that we've got scattered throughout the center of the body. However, much like in robot mode, sadly some components here for the Raptor form have already very quickly become victim to the yellowing plastic issue. So let's bring this guy in here for a closer look. As far as the head sculpt goes, I think it looks awesome. A really nicely done looking Raptor head. I think the paintwork is on point, especially as far as the iris and eye detail is concerned. I really do like these stripes that we've got going on here for the top section of the head, and all of the rows of teeth have been fully decked out. However, sadly they've still failed to give him his front row of teeth, which does look slightly peculiar from certain angles. But as we just take a look here at the top section, once more I think this upper body detail looks awesome. But as you guys can see, this centerpiece has massively discolored when in comparison to the pale salmon pink that we can see on either side. So yeah, definitely not a big fan of that at all. And this same black detail can be seen all the way across the figure until we literally get to the tip of the tail. So definitely really nicely decoed, and I do like the salmon pink they've chosen. It really does look awesome and matches that original 90s toy. We get some more detail here on the thigh as well as the white claws, and overall not a bad looking dino mode. Definitely not the best. Of course, it did have quite a bit of junk where the butt was concerned, but still, for a mainline beast transformer, I think they did a pretty decent job. Now, as far as articulation is concerned, sadly no form of head rotation, but we do get the jaw that can open and close and all of the same ball joints, etc. that we saw first time round. It would have been cool had they remolded the claws, much like what the DNA design kit gave us, so that we could have straightened this out, so that they could have been in a slightly more natural pose. But still, not a bad looking dino mode at all. And for a very quick comparison, here we have both versions of Dinobot fully transformed into their Raptor modes. And if I'm going to be honest, I much prefer how the toy deco looks, at least here in the dino mode. This guy looks great, a lot more visually interesting when in comparison to what we saw with Kingdom. I just think that detailing at the top and the stripes on the side just look awesome. And as far as the head sculpt goes, it really does look significantly different. I think they did a fantastic job where the iris detail is concerned, as here on the original Dinobot, it definitely does look slightly derpy and a little peculiar. But once again, be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. And with all that being said, I believe that just about wraps up my review here for the Transformers Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Heroic Maximal Dinobot. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below. Overall, as far as a repaint goes, I think this guy's turned out great. Robot mode looks cool, Dino mode looks fantastic, but it is just whether or not you receive a copy that has become victim to yellowing. And sadly, I think that it's something that you're not going to be able to tell straight out of the packaging, as when I first got this guy, none of the components were yellow, but as the weeks have begun to progress on, I have noticed a few areas of which have discolored. So I'm definitely hoping to see that issue resolved sooner rather than later. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section below, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.